In this video, I'm going to share with you how to prepare for the holidays and for it to be what it's meant to be, a holiday that brings you joy and happiness. My name is Chani Twersky. I am a mother of 8, and I now help future parents prepare emotionally before they start their family. And today we're going to cover how you can build your relationship and heal your relationship with your parents, especially now before the holidays come up. So if that's you, stick with me because I will share with you some important information that will help you really surf this holiday season peacefully and in a way that it doesn't impact you in a negative way. So the step number 1 is separating relationships. Because interestingly, we often come into a family and the dynamics in all the different relationships that are woven through all the family members have a certain dance and a certain play and a certain dynamic that are usually set in the pattern that you grew up with. And if you want to create a change this upcoming holidays, you want to begin to separate your relationship with each of your family members, because reality is that your relationship with each of your family members is different. Your relationship with your father has one quality, and your relationship with your mother has a different quality. And the same is true with each of your siblings, or this can, of course, extend to wider family. But the most important people in your life are your parents, and that's what we're going to focus on in this video, your mother and your father. So you want to begin to separate those two and not clump them into like one, my relationship with my parents, although they might be codependent, they might be enmeshed, but your relationship is individual and separate with each of them. So as a preparation, the first step that you want to do is to really set aside time and journal and get clear on what your relationship with each of your parents are. You might want to take separate time to journal your relationship with your mom and journal about your relationship with your dad. And once you see what's surfaced on the paper, you will be able to read it back to yourself, and you will have a little bit more clarity on how your relationship is with each of your parents. And if you want a bonus, you can also add how your relationship is when you're with both of them together, because that's already a different dynamic. But the easiest will be if you can really clarify and separate them out so it's more easy to maneuver and to navigate the different nuances between you and your father and you and your mother. The same is true even if your parents are not around. You still want to separate out the relationship and understand the dynamics between you and each of your parents, whether they're around or not, or whether you'll be visiting them together or separately, of course, depending on what the reality of your family situation is. I am sure there is different history with each of your parents, and there's also a different dynamic in the present day relationship with each of your parents. So that's my recommendation as a first step to separate the relationships and to get clear and feel empowered and feel like you have a grip on understanding your relationship with each of your parents before the holidays even start. Now, once you have done that, I want to invite you to do step number 2. And the second step is setting your intentions. Setting your intentions means that I want to invite you to think of what is your ideal scenario for how you want your holidays to feel, to look like, how you want the experience to be. And I know sometimes you can have your limiting beliefs or your own inner voices that will go, it's impossible. I don't want to set these positive, high expectations. Maybe it's never going to happen. But I want to invite you to put all those voices at peace in some way or another and really set yourself up for, if you can wave a magic wand, What would you like the whole holiday season from now all the way till after New Year's to look like and be your experience with your family? And don't limit yourself. You can have 10 intentions, you can have 20, you can have one. It doesn't matter how many, but allow yourself to really feel free with exploring and getting in touch with what is your dream outcome of this period. Maybe it can be, for example, the next month and the holiday month is a super healing experience between me and my dad, or whatever the experience or the situation is in your life with your parents. Allow yourself to desire, allow yourself to want, allow yourself to dream. You deserve to have an amazing experience all the time, especially with your own parents. And we're now not looking at how to make that happen. We're now introducing first to get in touch with your deepest desires. And it might be tender, it might bring up a little bit of pain. Just give yourself the space. Do it in a setting where, or in a time where you have the ability for more tender feelings to come up. Because sometimes when you hit those desires, you're actually also hitting the pain points. So I invite you to do it in a time and in a setting that will allow for more tenderness to come up and really write out all your intentions so that you know what experience you intend to have. And then later we'll talk about what you can do to actually help you bring that forth. I'm going to give you an analogy. So if you come into your house and it's winter time, but you weren't in your house for a month. So you come in and it's freezing. Outside it's about 30 degrees and in the house it's like 40 degrees. So you're really cold. What are you going to do? You're going to set your thermostat to 70 degrees, for example. And once the thermostat is set to 70 degrees, your house is going to get warm and it's going to keep the house on 70 degrees. So when you set your intentions, you're setting the thermostat, the energetic thermostat of what temperature you want the holidays to be for you. That's the power of setting intentions. I remember in my life when I started my holistic wellness and inner health journey, one of the first practices that I started was creating intentions. And I probably had like 3 to 4 years where that was a main practice that I used to do on a regular basis. And it felt very empowering to find the words and get in touch with the things that I really wanted. Because oftentimes we, because of life happening and things being difficult and challenges coming up and relationship challenges being in your life, you sometimes forget what you actually always wanted, or you lose touch with the things that are important to you. And I know your relationship with your parents is important to you. And I know that there is a history of as many years as you're alive with your parents because they are your primary relationship. So I want to encourage you and hold space for you tapping into those desires of maybe something that you always wanted with your parent. And do it this year. Now is the time for you to first at least get in touch with what it is that you would want to experience in the upcoming holidays. Step number 3 is what needs to be true. Because once you have that list of intentions and your raw, real, deepest desires is on paper, you want to ask yourself, what needs to be true for this to actually come into place and come into being in my experience with my parents over the holidays? And in that list, you want to keep 2 columns. One column, you want to write down everything that you need in place to happen so that those intentions actualize. So let's use an example of an intention that you want your experience with your parents and your experience in your over the holidays to be peaceful. There's no yelling. Every year you come back, you're stressed. There's too much yelling. There's too much verbal abuse. There's too much bickering. So your intention for this year is that it's peaceful, maybe laughter, joyful, respectful interactions. So in this step, you want to create two columns. One of them is what needs to happen for your experience and your family to be respectful and not stressful, like yelling. So the first thing that perhaps needs to happen is that you want to make sure you go there not hungry, because then you're going to be more sensitive. So list all the things that need to happen in order to help for this intention to take place. Because from experience, you probably know enough of what needs to happen for this to happen. And the second column is what are your limits? So, what is your limit around the bickering that used to happen up until now? Perhaps it's verbal abuse, if you're shamed, if you're being called names, or you're being controlled or yelled at, or whatever the behavior is that does not work for you. So the first column is what's going to help you, what's going to help for this intention to actually take place, and what's going to help on the flip side, what is the limit where you're actually going to respect yourself because you're going to understand your limit. So that's step number 3, really understanding and making a list of what needs to happen for your intentions to really actualize in a magical way because you're intentional and you're going to bring that energy, and also from a practical perspective. So these are 3 simple steps that you can use immediately in beginning to set yourself up for a really pleasant month and holiday season. You start with separating out your relationship with each of your parents rather than approaching them as a unit. And then you create your intentions for what your experience could look like and what you want your experience to be. And then finally create like a game plan. What needs to happen for those intentions to actually come into play? And I want to remind you that you are powerful. And with these simple shifts, you might see a big shift in how your experience with your parents are in this upcoming holiday season. I invite you to share one or multiple of your intentions so we can all hold space for what you want to experience this coming month. And if you want to learn a little bit more about how to deal with overwhelm when it comes to starting a family, you can watch this video. Feel free to check out the video and have a wonderful, joyful experience with your own parents and helping you shift those dynamics slowly but surely as you prepare for your amazing journey as a parent. I look forward to seeing you in our next video.